Welcome everybody to the October 11th council meeting. First we have the roll call, please.
Barkley.
Here.
Walters.
Here.
Varden.
Here.
Ewert. Benner.
Here.
Parton. Here. Crum.
Here.
Thompson.
Here. Invocation will be given by Pastor Kurt Henson, Hazel Christian Church.
Meeting, Mr. Mayor, Council, let's pray. Gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight as family, as friends, and as neighbors of this great city. We thank you for this place that we call home. You seek to remind us that it's not the size of a city that matters, but the amount of faith, hope, and love that is shared among its citizens. We ask that you bless the mayor and the council with wisdom and discernment for each of the items on tonight's agenda. And Lord, tonight I reflect and I just want to thank you so much for Jesus, the one who faithfully comes and removes the real trash in our lives. He replaces it with his love, with joy, and peace. We all gather here tonight because we love our city. But first we seek to love and honor you, and still you remind us to love one another. In the precious name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first we have a special order of business, Red Ribbon Week Proclamation. Whereas communities across America have been plagued by the numerous problems associated with illicit drug use and those that traffic in them. And whereas there is hope in winning the war on drugs, that the hope lies in education and drug demand reduction, coupled with hard work and determination of organizations such as the Young Marines of the Marine Corps League to foster a healthy, drug-free lifestyle. And whereas governments and community leaders know that citizen support is one of the most effective tools in an effort to reduce the use of illicit drugs in our communities. And whereas the red ribbon has been chosen as a symbol commemorating the work of Kiki, a Drug Enforcement Administration agent who was murdered in the line of duty, and represents the belief that one person can make a difference. And whereas the Red Ribbon Campaign was established by Congress in 1988 to encourage a drug-free lifestyle and involvement in drug prevention and reduction efforts. And whereas October 23rd to the 31st has been designated National Red Ribbon Week, which encourages Americans to wear a red ribbon to show their support for a drug-free environment. Now, therefore, I, Russ Kessler, Mayor of Haysville, do hereby proclaim October 23rd to the 31st as Red Ribbon Week in Haysville, and urge all citizens to join me in the special observance. Councilman Crum.
I make a motion that we pass the proclamation for Red Ribbon Week, or as it's pronounced in a lot of schools, Wed Ribbon Week. You did a really good job reading that.
Yeah, thanks.
Second.
Tongue twister. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Question, please.
Barkley.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Crum.
Yes.
Varden.
Yes.
Benner.
Yes.
Parton.
Yes.
Crum. Thompson.
Sure again.
Yes.
Do I look like you?
No, second time.
I think we got it.
only go once.
All right, next, presentation of approval of minutes. Minutes of September 12th, 2022. Councilman Benner.
I make a motion we approve the minutes of the September 12, 2022 business meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any discussion? Question, please.
Barkley.
Yes.
Varden.
Yes.
Ewert. Walters.
Abstain.
Just give up, okay? Benner.
Yes.
Parton.
Yes.
Crum.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
All right, moving along. All right, next, item 1, citizens to be heard. We have Cody, is it Charbet? Charbet. Thank you. At the last Sedgwick County Association of Cities meeting, Julie and Jonathan gave a presentation, and I thought it was very useful and very knowledgeable. So, I asked you guys to come back out. I know they have other commitments, and so I'm really glad you were able to come out and give the presentation.
Well, good evening, Mayor and City Council members. As he mentioned, my name is Cody Sharvin. I'm the Operations Officer for Sedgwick County Emergency Management. And I really appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight to tell you about a couple things that Emergency Management is going to be doing for the City of Haysville coming up over the next few months. The first one is that we have reconstituted our CERT team. CERT stands for Community Emergency Response Team. And basically what it is in a nutshell, and we're going to give you a high-level view here, but we're teaching neighbors and training neighbors how to help neighbors after a disaster. So as you can see on the slide up there, educating people about disaster preparedness, they have to be ready to help themselves and their family first, or they're not going to be able to help others. So we talk about things, and then we go into those basic disaster response skills. So fire safety, some people have never fired a fire extinguisher, so we have fire safety training to help them do that. A little bit of light search and rescue. Of course, we don't want them getting hurt, so we don't encourage them to go into heavily damaged buildings, but if there's a little bit of debris that can be removed to free somebody, then by all means they should take that. A little bit into disaster medical operations. So what we do is we have a weekend-long class that will do a lot of education, a lot of lecture on that, and then we move into some actual hands-on exercises as well, so that they reinforce what they've learned by sitting through the modules and that. So the next slide, please. Why do we need such a team in all the cities across? Well, if you think about disasters, there's a lot of differences, but there's some things that they all have in common. And first on the list is after disaster, emergency services are going to be overwhelmed. And of course, as we see on the next bullet, with responses delayed, the residents are going to have to be their own first responders for maybe 24 hours, maybe up to 72 hours. That's why we encourage people to have a 3-day kit with food and water supplies for everybody in the household. And then, as we saw, I should say, in the April tornado that somehow missed Haysville. I don't know how you guys did that, but congratulations on that. But in the April tornado that struck eastern Sedgwick County and the city of Andover, 100% of the rescues that were performed that night were neighbors helping each other. By the time the fire department was able to muster their forces and go into the neighborhoods, there was nobody left to pull out of the rubble because they'd already been rescued by neighbors. Not necessarily by CERT members, but by neighbors. And that's why we want to harness that Midwestern vibe that we all have of neighbor helping neighbor and give it a little bit more structured performance. So if we know that disaster is going to strike, we can take all the mitigation factors and actions that we can do, but there's still going to be a disaster. So if we know that disaster is going to be striking our community at some point, and we're going to have to help our neighbors, why not be properly prepared and trained to do that? So that's what really CERT does. It educates the community on how to prepare themselves and their families first, take care of your own first, and then go out, reach out, and help your neighbors that might need your assistance. Just to give you an idea of what we're looking at in the basic training, and that's all we're doing right now. Eventually we'll move into an advanced team training, but we're starting with the basic training. And as you see up there, it's train and release. We're not going to be running the team that we train here in Haysville. It will be a Haysville team, and you'll be responsible for your own coordination and working with your volunteers. We'll train them and release them into the community, so to speak, and give them the knowledge that they need. Some of those other things that you see on there are already information that we've talked about. So there's no volunteer commitment required. I think that's an important one. It's up to you after you've taken this training to put it into use afterwards. There's no call to action. There's no deploying the CERT team or anything like that when we're talking about a basic training team. Now, eventually we will give team members from all the cities around the county an opportunity to join our advanced team. And you see some of the things that they'll be expected to do. Go through some advanced FEMA training, which is the ICS classes, Incident Command Structure. We will deploy this team if requested by other jurisdictions, and so we need to make sure that they're trained up and can properly help when they get to the citizens and the other communities where they're going to be going. We'll have a limited amount of response vehicles and equipment. We'll have a CERT trailer that they can take with them when they deploy, and these things have some basic shoring equipment, firefighting equipment, basic medical supplies, things of that nature. So they could, as that last bullet says, they could be deployed out of county or potentially even out of state if we saw, another Hurricane Katrina situation along the Gulf Coast. They could ask for CERT teams from other unaffected states to deploy. So that, of course, is down the road. We're looking at just the basic training right now. Just real quickly go through the modules. Emergency management and disaster preparation are two of the first things that we go over with them. And by the way, as we go through this, all those pictures that you're seeing with these slides are from our first CERT training class, which our pilot program that we did with our Canine Search and Rescue team. They're all now trained CERT members. We did this at the Derby Fire Station earlier this summer. So on Friday night, we'll go through emergency management, disaster preparation, CERT in Sedgwick County. And then as we go into Saturday and the weekend, we'll do fire safety and utility control. They'll teach them how to turn off gas meters and things of that nature, turn off gas lines, I should say. Disaster medical operations taught by an EMT or paramedic. The light search and rescue that I referenced before. We'll talk about terrorism and CERT and disaster psychology because, again, we can't help others if we're hurting ourselves. So, as it says there, each class is taught by a local subject matter expert. Usually a firefighter will teach the fire training, the paramedic will teach the disaster medical and such thing. You can't even read that one, so just trust me that it reiterates what I just said. We start on Friday night. We have a full day of class on Saturday. Then Sunday, after everybody has a chance to go to church and get some Sunday dinner, we reconvene for our closing recap and exercise to their final exam, if you will. So we really are excited to be bringing this back to the whole county and to cities as they agree to come on board. And I understand there's already a willingness and a desire here in Haysville. So preliminary, very preliminary at this point. We're looking at maybe bringing a CERT class to you guys next January. January is always iffy on the weather, so we'll see. But that's the high-end view of what we're planning to do with CERT. So I've got another section, but before we move into the mass notification, are there any questions on what we talked about on CERT at this point? Okay.
No, I don't see any.
Not see any, all right. Great. We'll go back and talk about mass notification, public notifications, and this is something that we've had this Civic Ready mass notification system for in-house for quite some time. It's what we use anytime we activate the Emergency Operations Center after disaster. We've used it for internal notifications. Well, we found out we were paying for external public notifications as well, and they recently revamped their program and made it a lot more user-friendly, a lot more farther reaching. And so we're now expanding it out, and we're going to offer this to cities as well to alert their citizens through public sign-up. It will be by sign-up only. You have to opt in. It's not a mandatory thing. No, we can't force messaging on anybody. But if they opt into the system, they'll have a chance to receive these public notifications. And if we look at the next slide, you see there the highlighted 3 alert categories. But basically what you're going to be concentrated on at the city level here is the third one listed there, the community bulletins. Public safety alerts, they're going to be really important, but they will come most likely from 911 because they're the ones that are going to have the information in the moment, and they're going to be time sensitive. And they'll send out maybe just an email, maybe an email and a text, maybe an email, text, and phone call. It just kind of depends on the situation. Public health alerts are things, as you see described there, the boil water advisories, things about an epidemic, if there's a vaccination clinic going on, anything that the public health department for Sedgwick County would like to send out, they will come across in that category. And then the community bulletins, things that are generally on the low priority end of the scale, if you will, things that can go out via email, festival news, government office closures, local road closures, and things of that nature. So as it says at the very bottom, we're still in the planning stage, so there's a little bit of a chance that some of this may change, but we've already started beta testing with a few cities we'll talk about here in a minute. And those are the categories that we're proceeding with. Citizens will be given a link. You'll promote it yourself through your Facebook, your Twitter accounts, your social media, through the local newspaper, whatever means you can get that to them. This is the link you follow. You go there, and they will see the list of all the community alerts that are available, not just for Haysville. So if they want to sign up for more than one city, they can. And if they only want to sign up for one list, they don't want public safety alerts or they don't want public health alerts, they only want the community bulletins, they'll have that opportunity to sign up for those as well. just to give you an idea of the structure, we are at emergency management and 911. We're kind of at the top of the pyramid there because we're the ones that are the authorizing entity, if you will, for people to use this. We have the super administrator privileges to the system. And then we give general administrator permissions to each of the cities. 1 or 2 people within your city will be a general admin, and then they will create other administrators who can only send messages, don't have access to the full system. And it will be branded from the city of Haysville, and everything will look like it's coming from you and have nothing to do with us in emergency management. So this is just an example of how alerts can be sent. You can do everybody on a list. You can do every phone call, every email, every text message on a list, or we can do target alerts. And it gets a little bit tricky. The example given there drew a polygon, a rough hand polygon around Boston Park, and it's hard to see what's in that left-hand column, but if there were people signed up who gave their address, because that's one of the things you have to do when you sign up is give an address, or the system doesn't work for you because it doesn't know where to send your alerts or what alerts to notify you for. If there was an address that somebody had signed up within that polygon, it would show up there. And then it also has the ability to go out and grab any white page, any published white page number or telephone number in the yellow pages. And it will send a phone call to them as well if the alert is urgent enough to warrant a phone call message on that. It's similar to what we can do with wireless emergency alerts through the IPAWS system, Integrated Public Alert and Warning, but that is an emergency message that we're allowed to force on everybody. These are going to be urgent, but it's something that they still have to opt up in for. So I don't want to get too deep in the weeds on this. The general administrators and the sending-only administrators will talk about the targeting capabilities with it when we get them into training. So if we look at the next slide, we've already had a training class for Mount Hope and Derby and the city of Wichita. And they're going to be launching theirs live real soon. We need to get the 911 dispatchers, supervisors trained up because they're the ones that will be sending the public safety alerts. So there will be some growing pains. We know that. And that's why we're not giving it to everybody right out of the gate. We want to work out those kinks with some of those cities. And then we'll hand it off to everybody else free of charge. That's the best news. I should have led with that. This is all going to be free to you guys because it's covered under our contract. So basically, at this point, and we've already had some just preliminary discussions with the city of Haysville, we know that one of your points of contact that we're going to be picking on, and whoever else you choose as city administrators for general administrator, I should say, we'll get them trained up, and then they'll train their send-only users. So I had no intention of running on that long, so I apologize for making that much longer than it needed to be. Are there any questions at this point?
Councilman Crum?
Actually, I'm going to come back to the CERT. I thought maybe you
Sure.
were going to answer a question with that second part. So I was like, how do you said the group that you trained over in Derby, they were a group that was already a defined group. How do you decide who gets this training? Is it open? Does the
Absolutely
city
open.
designate it? Okay.
Yep, we will just put the announcement out there. We'll use it on county social media. We'll cooperate with your folks and put it on your local social media and just say anybody and everybody that's interested. Now, we may run into a cap especially if we have to do it all inside into January. We'll be limited by the city capacity of whatever facility, but there's no restrictions other than that.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions? Well, this evening, thank you, Cody. It's a lot of great information. So.
You bet.
All right, next we have item 2, approval of licenses and bonds. We have none. Item 3, introduction of ordinances and resolutions. A, resolution of the governing body of the city of Haysville, Kansas, authorizing the sale and conveyance of certain property to Main Street Place Senior Residence, LLC, upon payment of its taxable multifamily housing revenue bonds, Series A and Series B, 2005. Should be a memo inside your packet, and Will can answer any questions if you have any. Has everybody had a chance to read the memo? What would council like to do? Or are there any questions? Councilman Crum?
I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution of the governing body of the city of Haysville authorizing the sale and conveyance of certain property at Main Street Place Senior Residence LLC upon payment of its taxable multifamily housing revenue bonds, Series A and Series B 2005.
Sorry.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Question, please.
Barclay.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Benner.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Crump.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
All right, next we have item B, an ordinance rezoning real property located within the city of Haysville, Kansas, and amending the official zoning map or maps of the city to reflect such amendment, all pursuant to the zoning regulations of the city. We have Jonathan will present this. This is the Wheatland Village edition. This is the one that was sent back to planning to receive more information. And, I know Mr. Hirsch is also back there because you had also asked about schools and the school capacity.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. On September 22nd, the Planning Commission reviewed the zone change as requested for the property along South Meridian and north of Country Lakes. The recommendation is to approve the zone change. The staff report includes the data as you requested. And on receipt of this recommendation, you may either adopt by simple majority, review or amend and adopt by order, or take no further action. This is before you for your consideration, if you have any questions.
Council have any questions? What would council like to do? Councilman Walters?
Yes, this is the, just to clarify, to the west of Meridian, is that correct?
That's correct. North of Country Lakes and south of First Christian Church.
Okay. In looking at this package, I do have some concerns I'd like to raise. First, I know that we asked for, as a body, about security. I'm concerned about how we went about doing that. I see that the data indicates that maybe 1.5% of the city is in that house duplex and up, and that equates to maybe 3%, or is that just an estimate? I'm not sure. But of that, it said 4% of the crime, if you will, was produced in that area. A couple of things about that I wonder is if greater than that percent is what creates the crime, if we increase it 5% or whatever, will that not also increase it greater than that? But beyond that, I'm not sure that the logic holds, because typically crime is not committed in one's own area, I would think. Otherwise, the logic would say that somebody who robbed a gas station lives in a gas station. I don't think that makes sense. So I think that we could probably do better looking at perhaps data from Wichita to see what might compare that for us that would be useful as far as security. Secondly, I'm a little concerned about, as I look at the data, it indicates that the difference of whether it's a single housing or multiplexing is only the difference of about 11, 12, 13 families, not seemingly too much. If that's truly the case, and I think that is, I would like to see instead the ability to promote housing for the lower income, because we all know, and all of us perhaps have been in rentals at one time or another, and number one, we tend to take care of what we own rather than what we rent. But beyond that, if we rent, that money doesn't necessarily come back to us, whereas if a person owns a home, they have interest in that home, they have equity, tax rebates, and so forth. And thirdly, and I think most important, is I have been I have been contacted multiple times on this issue in my years on the council, more for this particular issue than any other issue. And I think as a council, it is our responsibility to marry what the needs of the city are with what we hear the needs of the community are. And I'm seeing many folks not only addressing the planning committee, but also addressing us. I know each of you have received data and emails from some of these folks. And everybody I've heard from is against this proposal. I have not heard a single person tell me, other than the information I have here, that is for this proposal. Therefore, as a council member, I'm going to have to vote no on this, and I recommend that we send that back or vote no on this to the rest of my council members, that we need to listen to our citizens in our community and the voices that we're hearing from them. There's an outcry that says they do not want this in this particular area.
Anybody else have any questions, comments? Councilman Berkeley?
Is this the time that we get to speak to, or that we get to hear from Dr. Hirsch?
If you'd like to hear from him, because I know you guys, the council had asked to hear from the school, so so we invited Mr. Hirsch here to answer any questions as far as for the school, about the school.
Yeah. Dr. Hirsch,
It's just Jeff, by the way. It's okay. I'm not a doctor, I'm just Jeff.
what's the future look like for being able to hold a higher capacity?
That's a really good question, and for those who don't know, I'm just starting my second year in the district, so I'm learning about Haysville and our growth and so forth. Here's what we are doing currently, Councilman, and that is, one, we are conducting a demographic study with a company that came in and is providing data for us. And here's what I can tell you they've shared nationwide. There is a trend nationally, and you may have heard this, that birth rates are dropping. And so nationally, they used to, prior to the pandemic, as I understand the time frame, and don't hold me to exact, but the figure they used when a new house was built was 0.6 children per home nationally. That rate has changed to 0.4. So when you look at 100 houses going in, that tells us you're going to have 40 kids who are going to potentially come to the schools eventually. Either they're kindergartners or younger, or they're older students. So as I understand it, over in this development, if I'm correct, Mayor, I think it's 100 and ballpark 50 is just ballpark.
Yeah, around there.
150. So if you base it off that number, that should put us between 60 and 70 kids that would be then eligible to enter into 4 potential schools. One would be Freeman, other would be Haysville West Middle School, Campus High School, or Haysville High Schools, depending on the student. So you take 60 kids, they're not all going to be in elementary, they're not all going to be in middle, so if you just do an average of 15 kids per building, could we absorb that? Yes, we could absorb that, absolutely. I will tell you another district close to us that is a district that is growing very rapidly, a suburb of Wichita. They had this same company complete a study for them, and their rate, even as what I consider a district that's growing very, very quickly with houses, was 0.45. So I think that figure is nationally compared to where we are locally. The other thing, trend-wise right now in the United States, again with babies not being born, is there's a projection in Kansas by the year 2030, the public school population will drop by about 9%. So you take, let's round that to 10% in Haysville. We have 5,500 kids, so that's a drop of 550 kids, if that were to happen. I'm not sure I believe that for suburban districts, maybe some other, but I'm not sure I agree with that from a perspective. It's just my own personal belief, but that's the trend. So right now, if there were 100, and I'm just using the number 150, there were 150 homes to be placed over here, 0.4 kids per house, we could absorb those students. We are also doing a demographic or a facility study. We're in the process of starting that, which will also take a look at all of our facilities that we currently utilize and potential for absorbing students or not. The other area that I will tell you that's not on, has nothing to do with this, but it does have a potential for schools to grow, is the legislature in House Bill 2567, which was passed in the last legislative session, allows now for a student that does not live in your district to apply and has a right to attend the district. So that has there's a lot of things that's a very general level. I mean, it's a 10,000-foot view. So there is a potential for kids from other areas wanting to come to Haysville, which would impact our numbers as well. The good thing is, through that bill, the board is allowed to set the number that they are comfortable with. And we'll work with our board. That doesn't kick in until the year 2024. So it'd be the 24-25 school year. We have to have a policy in place by January of 2024. So we'll start working on that probably second semester of this year. So right now, we are doing a facility study. We're doing a demographic study. I've shared with the mayor that once we get that demographic study, we're starting to get the data now. I'll be more than happy to share that so you guys have it as well. And it shows growth patterns. It's very comprehensive, and it's one that I'm looking forward to seeing. And that will tell us, give us some guidance on what do we need to do facility-wise as well. So we want to take as much data as we can to come up with the best answer. And so right now, as you look at adding additions in our community, if you think about 0.4 kids per house, that kind of gives you an idea of how many students potentially that could impact our district. I don't know if I answered your question.
You did.
Okay.
Thank you.
You bet. Anything else, Mayor?
Council have anything for Mr. Hirsch? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What would council like to do? Councilman Crowe?
As I mentioned before, I think that time after time we do surveys and stuff, and everybody wants more businesses in town. This is on a main road right next to another one. Zoning Commission deemed it a good location for this. I actually got to looking, pretty much every ward or every quarter of the city has a section of duplexes or apartments or fourplexes, and Ward 4 has 3 duplexes is all I could find. Everything else is single-family homes over there. It's on the west side of Meridian, which is one of our main thoroughfares, and I think that's a good location for us because we need growth. We have to get new homes in town, new citizens in town, and Planning Commission deemed this a good spot. And I know that it worked in other communities, and going in other communities, you see these areas and all over the place, and that gets our population up, and that's going to bring more businesses into town, hopefully. So with that, I'll make a motion that we approve the ordinance rezoning real property located within the city of Haysville, Kansas, and amending the official zoning map or maps to the city to reflect such amendment, all pursuant to the zoning regulations of the city.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance. Any questions? Councilman Barkley?
I was just gonna mention that I had my voice was heard last time. I said everything, essentially I said everything that I needed to say last time. And I'm pretty much on the same page. I've just heard from too many neighbors and friends around me against it, that I feel like if I'm gonna be a representative, I've gotta represent them, so. That's all.
Councilman Walters?
Yeah, just to reiterate, I'm certainly not against housing in there, and that's why I'm for single-family housing, and make it available for anybody, and figure out ways to do that. I think the folks in the area, what they're really against, what I've been hearing is that all the duplexes and triplexes and quadplexes and so forth, and that's why I think we should keep it to AA rather than change the zone, is what the request is right now.
Any other comments, discussion? Question, please.
Barkley?
No.
Walters?
No?
Rarden?
Yes.
Benner?
Yes.
Parton?
Yes.
Crum?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
All right, next we have C, an ordinance adopting the city planning commission recommendation to deny a request for rezoning certain real property located within the city of Haysville, Kansas. This is located by the Peachwood Addition on the east side of Meridian, south of Casey's. So we have Jonathan.
Also at the last planning meeting, the planning commission also reviewed this zone change for the property located on Lot 1, Block A, Peachwood 9th Edition, as you requested. The recommendation is to deny the zone change as it does not align with the Meridian Corridor Plan of 2011. Upon receipt of this recommendation, you may adopt by simple majority, revise or amend and adopt by order, or take no further action. The staff report is in your packet for review. This is not before you for your consideration.
What would council like to do? Are there any questions? Councilman Benner?
If we go with the planning commission's recommendation to reject this, that leaves the property zoned as it currently is?
Correct.
Which, and just to remind me, what was that?
Light commercial.
Light commercial. Thank you.
Councilman Crum?
I'm curious, how often do we look at those zoning maps? I'm curious because that property over there, I know it's deemed light commercial right now, but I'm trying to think what business that's light commercial that would actually go on that lot. It's kind of like too big for a lot of things and not big enough for a lot of things. I can't figure out what type of small business would build there in that size of lot there are. You got like CVS's and Walgreens, they will only build on corners, and that's not a corner lot, so that would put them out. A strip mall, usually have a strip mall with one line of cars here and one line of cars by the street, and that leaves tons of area behind it. So I don't know, when's the last time we really looked at that to see? Personally, I think this is a good use for the being around property and everywhere else. I don't really buy the traffic concern because it would have to, when it got planned, it would have to meet all the regulations of the county and everything. How many, like at the high school, they had to go from, when they widened the street, they had to go from 2 entrances at campus to only one because they added one, and there can only be a certain amount of things within a certain thing. But I'm just curious if we want to keep it as light commercial. I'm really curious of what kind of light commercial business would go into a lot that size, especially when we've got so many other places in town right now that are sitting empty. I guess that's why, if we leave it like that and nothing, I mean, I would much rather see that land be developed with something than just sit empty. And so I guess my question is, does anybody have any ideas what kind of light commercial business might go in there? I mean, we did the thing over by the one that we have, the Copper Trail. Copper. It's got, don't we have a strip out like Grand that's left as light commercial, so
Yes,
somebody could.
the northern strip of it's commercial.
And so I'm wondering if something like that needs to be done with this. Maybe we do go ahead and look at the zoning of it, maybe allow housing in the back part and leave the front part for light commercial. But I hate forced to see an opportunity to have an empty lot in town filled with people or residents or a business and have it not really be used for anything right now.
So the property is light commercial, but it's got a protective overlay, so it's restricted on the use. One of the restrictions I know it won't allow a drive-through. The thing is there's 3 different properties there. The owner that applied for this zone change application only purchased the south property. They were platted together, so he only purchased the south property, and the zone change is only for that property. But as far as protective overlay, it does list it out for what all the uses would be allowed there. It would be like at offices, probably lawyers or accountants or something like that of sort. They would have a small office that would be in there, massage or hair or something like that that wouldn't have a high traffic, probably maybe a lower density commercial usage. But it was platted to be used or built together, developed together. This is only the south property. In order for us to look at the use, it would have to come to us from the owner. We can talk to them about it, but they would have to apply for a zone change for the other 2 properties to remove the protective overlay.
And if you wanted to see that list of offices or types of businesses that could go in there. It's on page 74 of the packet.
Yeah.
They're all detailed in there. Back in 2000, that ordinance went through.
Yeah, that was one of the very first protective overlays we ever did, I believe.
Is that when Casey's was going in and we did the lighting regulations and all that stuff?
When Casey's went in is when they removed the protective overlay off of those properties to allow that.
Any other questions? What would council like to do? Councilperson Parton?
I make a motion, we follow the planning commission's recommendation and deny the zone change.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the planning commission's recommendation to deny the request for rezoning. Is there any discussion? Question, please.
Barkley,
Yes.
Walters,
Yes.
Gordon,
Yes.
Benner,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Crum,
No.
Thompson.
Yes.
Councilman Crum?
I would request that staff maybe contact the three owners and see if they would be willing to look at doing something like that. Because when you look at the overlay, I don't know what would go on a lot that size that would need that much room. And if it would make it easier to do something like this, where we get some more houses in the background and businesses up the street where they would probably be, I think that would be a good idea.
We haven't had the best communication with the applicant, but I will attempt to.
Thank you.
All right, next we have D, an ordinance rezoning real property located within the city of Haysville, Kansas, and amending the official zoning map or maps of the city to reflect such amendment, all pursuant to the zoning regulations of the city. So this is the new Beauty and the Beasts. It's for a zone change and a protective overlay approval.
Thank you.
Jonathan.
On September 8th, the Plan Commission held a public hearing to consider a zone change from E heavy commercial to F light industrial on the property located at 7030 South Broadway Avenue in Haysville. Their recommendation is to approve the zone change with the following protective overlay restrictions. 1, the only allowed use is for an animal hospital and kennel animal animal adoption agency. 2, animals may not be left outdoors from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. 3, the animals allowed are dogs and cats. 4, a maximum of 50 adult animals at any one time. 5, a maximum of 30 puppies and kittens under 1 year of age. 6, outdoor screening required when next to residential. 7, no outdoor storage is allowed. 8, the exterior lighting must direct light away from residential areas. And 9, screening materials allowed would be wood fence, plastic or PVC material, masonry. All materials must meet city code, and wrought iron would be allowed on the side facing Broadway. This is now before you to take the following actions: to either approve the recommendation by ordinance with simple majority vote, deny the recommendation by supermajority vote, or return the recommendation for further review and explanation by simple majority. The staff report is in your packet for review, and the applicant is here to answer any questions you may have. This is now before you for your consideration.
Councilman Benner?
I have a conflict of interest, so I'll be abstaining from the vote on this item.
Councilman Warden?
Okay, you say the applicant is here?
Yes.
Well, I guess my concern, one of the concerns I have is they did the same thing in Rose Hill. It was a place that they were just gonna bring small animals, that kind of stuff in. They built this building and they put fencing around it, and now there's chickens. And the only reason I know this is because my son lives right next door to it. There's chickens, there's cows, there's horses, all these kind of animals, and they're there 24/7. Is there kind of any overlay or something that well, they said overlays, but we have a lot of places in town that can't do stuff and are not following them. So, are we going to be able to
If
it's not being followed, can we come back and take action against?
So it'd be a zoning violation if the overlays were violated.
Okay,
Does that answer your question?
that answers my question.
Any other questions? Councilman Crum?
Would this, I know when we have tall grass, we have to follow, or somebody's parking there, we have to follow all these regulations to make sure that gets taken care of. If this zoning isn't being followed, and this is looking, this has to do with live animals. Let's say something happens and they've got dogs that are left out all night, or they're outside in the heat of the day and they're not giving up, so it's a health issue. Can action be taken quicker? Is there different action that can be taken?
So, as compared to a violation of the zoning code?
Right, well, yeah.
So a violation of zoning code is a misdemeanor, and there's fines, and, you could spend time in jail for a violation of zoning code. Violation of the animal code is a criminal matter and a civil matter. So, yeah, PD can go out if there's issues, with, the health of the animals and things like that. So that would be a different part of our code, but also not necessarily the same thing as weeds or garbage or things like that.
Okay, I'm just saying, because we always complain about how slow that is. I just wanted to
Yes.
know if this could be something that's be expedited, if it has to do with cleanliness, even maybe, if the area's not getting cleaned up, so it becomes a health issue. Okay.
Any other questions, council? Councilperson Parton?
I make a motion, we approve the zone change request from E heavy commercial to F light industrial with the protective overlay as discussed.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance rezoning of property located within the city of Haysville as presented. Is there any discussion? Question, please.
Barkley,
Yes.
Walters,
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Benner,
Abstain.
Parton,
Yes.
Crum,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
All right, next we have letter E, an ordinance. I'm not gonna read the whole thing. It's before you. This is an ordinance granting the renewal of the Kansas gas service. It's a franchise. It's a 20-year agreement with 5-year reopeners. The franchise fee will stay the same at 5%. And there's a memo in your packet. And Will can answer any questions if you have any. Councilman Crum?
Well, are all these usually 20 years long?
From the ones I've worked with, yes.
Have we ever come and used a 5-year reopener, or is that something new, or?
I've not been involved with using the 5-year reopener, but I like that it's in there in case something comes up in the next few years that changes it.
Is there any big changes in this compared to what was there?
No, we have a couple of improvements that I mentioned in the memo that Tony requested, and they put those in, which will require them to get a permit when they're working on existing facilities. Previously, it said they may get a permit, so this will make them get a permit so we know exactly what they're doing and where they're doing it. And then the other one was they'll return, it's clearly stated that they'll return all properties, either Kansas Gas or their subcontractors, to as good of or better condition than they were in.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Councilman Crum?
I'll make a motion that we approve the ordinance granting the Kansas Gas Services as described in the packet.
Second.
I'm not gonna read it.
We have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance for the Kansas Gas franchise. Is there any discussion? Question, please.
Barkley, Walters,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Benner,
Yes.
Parton,
Yes.
Crum,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
All right, next, item 4, notices and communications. A, governing body announcements. Councilman Crum?
Put this picture up for me to read. Going on with the library this month, on the 13th will be the next Parents as Teachers story time at 10 o'clock, and then 11 o'clock is Parents as Teachers toddler time also on the 13th. Genealogy is coming up, having a thing on October 15th from 10 to 3. Also on the 15th, there will be 2 presentations of Mayhem at the Manor, which is a mystery theater kind of thing at the library. It's something that they've used for fundraiser. They have a matinee at 2 p.m. and it's family friendly. I know there's going to be like hot dogs and popcorn, and I believe the tickets for the family friendly one at 2 o'clock is $12. Or there's one with at 7 p.m. with a catered dinner, I believe from a barbecue place in town, and it is $25 the same evening, and that's at 7 p.m. You can contact the library to get tickets for that. I know in past years the shows have been really entertaining, so I would imagine this year will be as the same. The 19th is the next Lego Club meeting. And again, the regular scheduled teacher story time and toddler time at 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. on the 27th. The next board meeting of the library board's on the 27th at 7 o'clock, and at 5:30 before that on the same day as the Friends of the Library meeting. Then on October 31st at 10 o'clock, Parents as Teacher has an activity called Move and Groove. And a reminder that quilters meet in the community room on Monday afternoons, and knitting and crochet groups meet there on Tuesday afternoons. And that's some things going on at the library.
Thank you. Councilperson Parton?
Couple things. Hazel Pride thanks everybody who bought beer rocks and prepaid for them. We've sold out for our max amount that we can make. Pickup for those that have ordered is from 2 to 5 on Saturday at the Haysville Middle School at the kitchen. Follow the signs. And although I'm not part of it anymore, Haysville Fall Festival is October 21st to the 23rd. Get out to the park and enjoy it.
Thank you. Any other announcements? We've got several. First one's from the Senior Center. The Haysville Hustle and Haysville Senior Center was closed yesterday. The self-defense class is Wednesday, October 12th at 2 p.m. They are planning a trip to the Bartlett Arboretum. That's Friday, October 14th at 2:30. Monthly dinner, Friday, October 14th at 6 p.m. Microsoft Windows computer class, Tuesday, October 18th at 2 p.m. Klassmeyer Farm and Pumpkin Patch, Thursday, October 20th at 9:45 a.m. Vaccine clinic, Friday, October 21st at 10:30 a.m. Aviation Museum and lunch at Casey's. That's Wednesday, October 26th at 10:05 a.m. Halloween party, pizza and ice cream, Thursday, October 27th at 2 p.m. And the Senior Center closes early on Monday, October 31st at 3:30 p.m. With the Haysville Hustle numbers, let's see, for September of last month, one-way rides, we had 346 with 3 new registered riders, compared to 319 rides last year at this time with 20 new riders. For the third quarter of this year, for one-way rides, we have 920 with 21 new registered riders, compared to last year, third quarter, 725 one-way rides with 40 registered new riders. October 17th, Representative Cindy Howardson from District 98, she asked me to present this tonight. She was not able to come. That they are having a public forum tomorrow, next Monday, October 17th, from 5:30 to 6:30 at the Haysville Community Library. It's hosted by Representative Cindy Howardson, Representative Brian Burkamp, which represents the south part of Haysville. Cindy, Representative Howardson represents the north part of Haysville. And also Representative Blake Carpenter will be there. He's in District 81 in Derby. But they're going to be it's going to be a public forum discussing the 2 questions that are going to be on the ballot. HCR 5014 and HCR 5022. That'll be on this November's ballot. November 11th at 11 a.m. we'll have the be a Veterans Day program at the Veterans Memorial over by the library. And the following day, on Saturday, November 12th at 8:30 a.m., the Sedgwick County Association of Cities will be having our meeting at the Activity Center Saturday morning. So please come if you're able to.
What day was that?
It's November 12th at 8:30. We'll hear a lot of good information. Okay, next we have B, Sedgwick County Fire Department Station 34 monthly report. It's in your packet. C, memo of new businesses. D, the quarterly economic development report. We have Danielle here to give that.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I have the third quarter economic development report in your packets. I'll again just go through a few things and then answer any questions. First, on page 2, under business registrations, I wanted to clarify one item from the verbiage that's under the table. Mobile food vendors are not added to the number of business registrations. So mobile food so there is 2 current and 2 pending for the mobile food vendors. And I couldn't remember if I told you that last time, so I wanted to make sure to mention that. Also, there is 5 pending licenses. Those are listed separate, and once those are complete, they'll be added to the number of total businesses. The next item is on page 6. We do advertise our events on many different social media platforms. However, I did add a note that I have not previously on what we advertise specifically on YouTube. So for the third quarter, we advertised Hometown Market, National Night Out, and Gathering at the Gazebo. The final item is under the grants on page 7 and 8. The last 3 grants listed on page 8, I added to this quarter's report. They are not new grants. They originated in 2021. However, I wanted to ensure you had a comprehensive list for the last 2 years of grants, so I added those on there as well. And that is all that I have this evening. Do you have any questions?
I see no questions. So just so you know, Danielle presented a very lengthy report to the WAMPO this afternoon, which is the Wichita Area Metropolitan Planning Organization. A lot of mayors and city managers and counties there, KDOT, a lot of people over there. So appreciate you presenting that today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, next we have letter E, anonymous letters to council. So we received several. Next, item 5, old business, we have none. Item 6, other business. A, memo, best value services, refuse haulers license. So a couple weeks ago, I asked Will to send this out to you, and yesterday, I believe everybody received the email from Best Value, but I know not everybody has seen it. So I'm just gonna read it, it's pretty short, just so everybody understands what's going on. So this is of course we know this is was tabled and then passed, and you know, since then they have not been picking up trash. And so let me just read this email, or this letter to you. This is to myself and council members, City of Haysville, dated yesterday. This is Dear Mayor Kessler and Haysville City Council members. Thank you for the opportunity to serve you and the residents of Haysville for the past 10 years. Best Value Service has turned over responsibility for servicing its active residential customers to Air Capital Waste On-Site Incorporated. They have, in fact, been picking up on our behalf for the last week and will continue to do so. Effective immediately, we will no longer engage in residential trash and recycling business in the City of Haysville. We will not apply for renewal of our City of Haysville refuse haulers license, which will expire December 31st, 2022. We respectfully request the City of Haysville allow Best Value Service, LLC, continue servicing commercial customers until a suitable replacement can be found, not past the end of this year, and to operate from our business location in Haysville until all operations can be brought to an orderly close. We will work as quickly as possible to wind up all refuge and recycling operations at Haysville in less than 60 workdays by December 31st, 2022. Very respectfully, Solomon Tuffy's Managing Member. Council have any questions?
Mark,
Councilman Crum?
Does,
go ahead.
does Air Capital Waste have a license here in Haysville to
Yep.
pick up trash?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make
We are
sure.
trash service.
Okay.
Councilman Bitter?
Do we know how the, for customers of Best Value, how the billing is going to transition? Is that gonna be seamless and automatic, or
We can ask Mark.
Mark is
right here. Is that gonna be seamless and automatic? How's that gonna work?
Well, actually, we've kind of taken over picking up his customers kind of as a courtesy. There's no contract in place. We're not being paid to pick them up or anything like that. So all of those customers would need to sign up with a new trash service. So we will continue to pick them up for the rest of the month at no charge. We'll contact those people. We'll send letters, flyers. We obviously hope to get a bunch of those customers, but they would have to make a choice if they want to go with us, if they want to go with someone else. They're free to do that also.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for taking up for me.
Councilperson Parton?
That was one Mark to speak.
Councilman Crum?
In the email, it talks a little bit different about commercial trash service.
I wondered about that too.
I was curious, have we had any complaints on the commercial pickups, or has it all been residential?
My understanding is just residential and all commercial has been picked up, from my understanding.
Are you picking up commercial, Mark, or just residential?
We can pick up commercial. We don't have any kind of agreement with him. Through my conversations with him and through other customers, he has been picking up the commercial.
Okay.
So there was no reason for us to do anything on the commercial.
Does council want to do anything, or what would council like to do? I mean, there are no motions, there's, of course, originally I'd asked to have it revoked, but as we see, our capital's gonna be taking it over. Councilman Crum?
Just to kind of make sure that it keeps on track, would we be better off if we tabled it and brought it back next month to make sure steps were being taken to do what they say they're gonna do?
We can, yes.
I'll make a motion that we table the Best Value Service refuge haulers license discussion to make sure that things that have said would be done, do so that when we won't have to start over again on something.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Councilperson Parton?
I'd rather see it pushed out till the 1st of January, being as how he wanted, he asked for 60 days and he's picking up his commercial, so there's no reason for us to step in the middle of it. Residential's done.
Well, I guess my question is, Mark, you said third to the end of this month. So you're only looking at the end of this month, so we don't know what could happen after that?
Well, we're working with Solomon still we're working with him to pick up customers that are still active customers, that have prepaid for a longer length of time. Probably what we'll do is give them a credit when they sign up with us. So we want those people to be covered and not lose money. But I think in the next week, everybody will be informed, at least through us, that they've got to make a change, either sign up with us or sign up with somebody. But I would guess in the next week, it's going to be everybody who wants to sign up for somebody will take that opportunity. There still are a lot of people that he never did bill. So there's a lot of people that, as random as he was, they were still getting picked up at times. So some of those people might not switch immediately, but we can work with you as far as lists or any issues that come up.
So I guess if we just table it, just make sure that's happening, and if we need to, we can table it again. I guess I just kind of want, maybe instead of tabling, although we've already made a motion, I just would like an update.
I don't know what there is for us to do at this point. A lot of this is gonna depend on the customers.
Yeah.
Mark's pretty much got it all under control from talking to him. He's pretty much already got it under control and talking to the different people and that, you know, that already has, some have already switched, right, Mark?
Yes.
So some of them have already switched, some of them already, you know, are going over to Air Capital. I mean, I'm like, hey, I don't really see we need to do anything else. So,
Okay, well, we have a motion and a second to table it to next month. Any further discussion?
Like I said, my only intention is just kind of make sure you're updated and that things are going the way they're supposed to.
All right, question, please.
Barkley,
Yes.
Walters,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Benner,
Yes.
Parton,
No.
Crum,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
All right, next we have B, consideration of personnel manual revision, paid time off policy. Angie?
See if I can present this better than I can say you guys' names. So we are requesting a new paid time off policy for our new hires that would also be available to existing employees. This is in an effort to be a more attractive employer. Studies have shown that this system can significantly reduce unscheduled absences, makes an employer more attractive to current and potential employees, and reduces the administrative costs of tracking leaves. And it also empowers employees to make their own decisions regarding the amount of vacation and personal time spent away from work. The revisions are included in your packet. The things that are added are shown in red, deletions are struck through, and additions are underlined as well. There are typographical, grammatical, formatting, and lettering and numbering changes. Those are not included. Those will be cleaned up in the final copy. Does anyone have any questions?
Councilman Ward?
I don't necessarily have a question, but I would like to table this since we had so much stuff on our agenda that I really not got to sit down and read all this. And so I would like to say that we table this till the next meeting and give us an opportunity to go through this because, I mean, like I said, we got a lot of stuff on in our packet. So I would just like to do that. That's just mine.
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Will this interfere with anything? Any timelines?
The effective date is in the memo is in January of next year. So the only thing it would impact is us announcing that at an employee meeting. We can hold off on announcing it until it's actually been approved.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second to table this until next meeting. Is there any further discussion? Question, please.
Barkley,
Yes.
Walters,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Benner,
Yes.
Parton,
Yes.
Crum,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Next, letter C, consideration of land use map revision.
Mayor and council, before you are the revisions to the land use map as presented or recommended from Planning Commission. In the fall of 2020, we updated the boundaries of the map to match our urban growth area and area of influence, but did not have the capability to update the use in GIS. The updated map shows the new boundaries and the proposed land uses in GIS now. In your packet, you did have the link. There was a PDF in your packet, but then also showed you on the webpage where the GIS is, and you can zoom in on that and everything a little bit better. Revisions were detailed out in the memo. Since this is only an update, it only requires approval by council. I can try to answer any questions you might have.
Council have any questions? Councilperson Parton?
The location where we denied the zone change today, is that shown residential now? The yellow?
It's always been shown residential. It was shown residential on the land use map plan before.
Okay.
One of the things that planning did discuss when we went over the land use map is that this is not matched with the Meridian Corridor study. That's something they want to address in the next year. We're going over the comp plan, and COVID slowed everything down. Yeah, like you don't know that. But we have a more planning commission. We have everybody here. It's attending meetings, so we're getting more things accomplished now. One of the things is matching up the Meridian Corridor study onto the land use map a little bit more. So.
Okay.
Any other questions? Councilperson Parton.
Make a motion, we approve the updates.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the land use map revision. Is there any discussion? Question, please.
Barkley.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Varden.
Yes.
Benner.
Yes.
Parton.
Yes.
Crum.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, next we have consideration of the shade structures for the park at Country Lakes Edition.
So now that the playground equipment is over at the park, that was the first thing that we wanted to accomplish. Park Board did approve at the October meeting to install 2 shade structures over there. I am asking authorization for $12,253 to purchase these. These will be paid out of Park Board fund. And if you did notice, if you've been here before, the price of these have significantly increased since the last time we purchased them. So.
Councilman Benner.
Make a motion that we approve the request for $12,253 for the, to USA Shade.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the shade structures. Is there any discussion? Question, please.
Barkley.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Varden.
Yes.
Benner.
Yes.
Parton.
Yes.
Crum.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, next we have a consideration of aerators fountains for Dorner Park. Do you have any questions Bill can answer, or everything should be in your packet if you have any questions?
So we received the 26,379 already, or we will?
We don't have that in the bank yet, but it's gonna be basically the reimbursement of the 75%, so we'd ask for approval of the total, knowing that we're gonna get the reimbursement and leave us with the final cost of about $10,693.
Okay.
Councilperson Parton.
I would make a motion that we approve the bid for Solitude Lake Management for $37,072 for the aerators.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to purchase the aerators and fountains for Dorner Park. Any discussion? Question, please.
Barkley.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Varden.
Yes.
Benner.
Yes.
Parton.
Yes.
Crum.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Next, we have consideration of installation of streetlights in the industrial park. Councilperson Parton.
These are regular streetlights and not the antiques, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Councilman Varden.
There's no other discussion. I make a motion to approve the streetlight installation in the amount of $13,900.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the installation of the streetlights in the industrial park. Is there any discussion? Question, please.
Barkley.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Varden.
Yes.
Benner.
Yes.
Parton.
Yes.
Crum.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Next, we have item 7, department reports. A, administrative services.
So Georgie's got the announcements.
You're in the spotlight.
So a couple of things. Hazel Hustle has expanded its service area. In the past, we've only went over to 63rd and K15. We will be going over to Rock Road and Derby. There's been several requests for this area from different stores and dialysis and doctor's appointments and everything. So we have expanded over there. Our request will still remain on a first come, first served basis as the schedule allows. So this is only for destination drop-off boundaries, not pickup. Those will remain the same. So the Halloween yard decorating contest registration is open. This is the first year for that. Registration is open from October 1st to the 20th. You do have to live in city limits. Voting will be from October 21st to the 27th. The winner will be announced on October 28th. If anyone has any questions, they can contact Danielle over at the Vickers Building. Last, trick or treat on Main Street will be on Monday, October 31st from 4 to 6 p.m. The mayor will be handing out candy at the Vickers Building. Staff will be serving hot dogs where they last. Music will be from Tequila Ridge out in front of the Passage Boutique. And I guess I said last, but I have one more. Living History Rendezvous is Friday and Saturday, November 4th and 5th over in Riggs Park. That's all I have.
Thank you. Next, City Clerk, Angie.
First, tomorrow is our water shut-off day, so if someone needs to pay their water bill, they will need to do it by 8 a.m. tomorrow morning or sign an extension to avoid their water being disconnected. On Friday, November 11th, city offices will be closed for Veterans Day. Because of that closing, we are going to move November's water shut-off day from November 9th to November 16th. We don't want to turn somebody off and risk them being off for a long weekend, so we will be adjusting the calendar that way. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Police. Chief.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just want to introduce our visiting officer this evening is Officer Nolan Smith. He's one of our newer officers. He is currently assigned to the patrol section on first shift, so say hi to him as you go by out there. Also, as we talked about, we've got several activities coming up here in the next few weeks, including the Fall Festival and Halloween and the Trick or Treat on Main Street, the Rendezvous. Some of those are going to cause some street closures for the parade during the Fall Festival, and also just ask everybody to please be mindful on Halloween of the kids out running around. There's several trunk or treats in the city here, so just be mindful of that. There may be kids out. Kids are having a good time. They don't necessarily pay attention to what they're doing, so keep an extra eye out for them. Make sure you're driving the speed limit. Everybody drives safe, and of course, don't drink and drive. Designated driver. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Public Works.
No announcements.
Next, Recreation. Robert.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The Hazel Recreation Youth Basketball deadline is October 21st. Again, reminders of Fall Fest on the weekends of October 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. It is not this weekend, so come see us on then. The Hags Halloween Spectacular will be in Dorner Park on October 30th from 3 to 5 p.m. And then we'll have our Gobble Wobble 5K at the Activity Center on November 5th. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, item 8, appointments. We have none. Item 9, off-agenda citizens to be heard. Is anybody left out there would like to talk? Now is your time.
Should get a prize for staying, shouldn't
Should.
Respect.
All right, item 10, executive session. We have none. Item 11, review of expenditures. A, summary of the September expenditures. Councilperson Parton.
Make a motion, we receive and file the September expenditures.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to receive and file the September expenditures. Is there any discussion? Question, please.
Barkley?
Yes.
Walters?
Yes.
Gordon?
Yes.
Benner?
Yes.
Parton?
Yes.
Trump?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Next, item 12, consent agenda. We have none. Item 13, council items. A, council concerns. Councilman Crum.
Not a concern, Tony's not here, but I know that we get this passed along. There's been some dead trees over by Riggs Pond, and I felt like it was something that we needed to get taken care of, and Tony made sure that got taken care of before Fall Fest. I just want to appreciate that we got that taken care of.
Any other concerns, council? All right, item B, council action request updates.
So 7050 Plaza, the property is still not in compliance. Court date was continued to 10/25/22. 7106 South Broadway, update as of today. Parties have agreed to terms of a court order that will bring the property into compliance. Review is set for 60 days, which would be 12/13/22. 1100 East Grand, update as of today. The tree has been cut down, limbs and the stump still have to be removed. They still have some time to get that done to be in compliance. And then lastly, 1000 Block West Simi. Officers have been notified of the issue and will increase patrols in the area. The radar trailer is also scheduled to be placed out there as well. That's all I have unless somebody has questions.
Thank you.
We fixed their streets and now they got a racetrack.
All right, item 14, adjournment.
Motion we adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn tonight's meeting. Any discussion? Question, please.
Barkley.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Benner.
Yes.
Harton.
Yes.
Crum.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.